Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary for the last 5 years. I am your host and superior webhead master, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs. I apologize for the fact that I was on my phone as the thing ended. I was texting people about epic confrontation stuff. More on that later. I am not alone. We have some news to get through, a classic news roundup, and folks, I can finally let Mitch out of the cave. I can unshackle him and let him go back across the pond to go back to torturing me with different animu because he's back! Travis motherfucking Grossman is here!
Did they come through? Did the crack come through?
It did, and mostly got muffled by me screaming, unfortunately.
That's all right.
But the boy's here. How you doing?
I'm good. Like I said, for once in a long one of these, not that I'm, it's been a minute, and it was a minute before the last one.
Yeah.
Remember, so right before we started recording, I was like, Joe, you're not going to believe this. I know all of these stories, and then I looked at them again and realized I lied. There is one of them I didn't know about.
Which one was it?
It's the crossover comic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The most likely one for me not to be like on the up and up about.
That makes sense. But Travis is back. Travis should be back for the foreseeable future, and if he isn't, I'm going to drag him here. But yeah, like I said, we got some news for you guys. Nice news episode. A little bit of housekeeping up top first. Ionized Bastards. We are in the home stretch, guys. The final 3 episodes are coming up. We're recording the next one tomorrow at time of record. Speaking of Travis, last we spoke, you said you were getting caught up on Ionized Bastards. How far are you? It is okay to say not that far. I will not be upset because there's a lot. Huh?
To be fair, though, now that my commute's cut down, my ability to listen to long-form content has also been cut down, unfortunately.
Oh, that makes sense. See, even though I've recently had a pretty short commute and even shorter now, I still mostly subsist on audiobooks and podcasts. It's all I can entertain myself with.
Tomorrow starts a new season of Dimension 20, and I will be watching that because it's steampunk this time.
Oh yeah, fucking awesome.
Also, I
forgot that it started already. I can't wait for Jungle in the Jungle to be on Dropout.
I need to know what the canon event was. I need to know who died permanently.
I don't know who it was. I am so afraid for the fate of Fabian Arameus Seacaster.
I love saying the full name of the event. It's Dimension 20, Battle in the Bowl, Fantasy High, Rumble in the Jungle, a canon event, Chungle Down Bim versus Fabian Arameus Seacaster. One of them will die forever. End quote.
I can't wait. No, we might even do an episode about it. We'll see. I know I'm super, super pumped for that. Taylor and I have been watching the Time Quangles recently.
Oh yeah.
We got through the first 2, I believe, which is affirming the only Intrepid Heroes season we have not seen. I should rephrase that. The only piece of Intrepid Heroes we haven't seen is Starstruck Odyssey, because we haven't seen season 2 of Unsleeping City yet, and the only reason is that I have to prepare myself for that. I've told you this. I don't know how much I've talked about Dimension 20 on air. I know people know I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Unsleeping City fucked me up emotionally so hard.
Season 2 doesn't hit quite as hard. It is incredible. It's very, very good.
If I can get sappy for a little bit, I finished on Sleeping City right after I moved in with Taylor. We were blasting through it like in November into December. It so happened that the Christmas episode happened to coincide with the holidays for us, so I was happy about that. We were blasting through it, and where we live, it is not rare. Anybody who's seen on Sleeping City knows where this is going. It is not rare for us to have deer in our backyard. And it was always something to be like, oh, look, deer. You get excited about seeing them in our backyard. So we get to the end of the final episode. And while I am hysterically crying over, spoilers, the sacrifice of Kugrash, I am then mollywopped by the truth of what happened to Sophie Bicicleta's fucking husband. And then the deer in our backyard thing. And the moment I calmed down, I went right back in and couldn't stop crying for like 30 minutes. Like, I cried as hard at Unsleeping City's finale as I did when I saw Return of the Jedi in a theater for the first time.
I've never cried as hard at anything as I've cried at sophomore year of Fantasy High. Which now you've watched then?
Yeah, I'm all up on Fantasy High. I think the only follow-up season I haven't seen is season 2 of Unsleeping City. Okay. But I'm all in on Fantasy High. We saw Never After, Crown of Candy, and Ravage War.
Crown of Candy is my favorite season of Dimension 20 period.
That is so funny because you won't watch Game of Thrones. That is so funny. Yep. That is so goddamn funny.
Tied only by sophomore year.
Wow. Interesting.
When you have no idea how much Tell Me All of the Unimportant Things messed me up.
I get it. See all the math as to how you got there. Like, that's not me trying to be glib. Like,
yeah, I like in that way. Like I started. I'm like, oh, I'm crying at a work of fiction.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, Riz is gonna make me bawl my eyes out. That's cool. And like the entire scene through Heaven, I'm like, I would cry really. I had to pause it occasionally. I would cry really hard. I'd pull myself together, and then I'd unpause it, and Brendan would say something else, and I'd cry again. And then they'd tell me all the unimportant things. I like even at things in real life have not cried that hard in a like longer than is probably healthy.
I believe it, man. You've brought it up on air before, so I don't feel like I'm putting your business in the street. But like you and Taylor share that.
Yeah.
Both of her parents have passed, her father has passed. So like, I know that like those dad goodbye moments have always affected you. I had never seen a piece of media strike that chord with Taylor until we went to see, this is years ago when Andor season 1 came out, was the Rogue One re-release. Right before Andor came out, the first season that is. And when we went to see that, because I knew intellectually but never put it together that Rogue One came out the year her father passed. And the goodbye between Galen Arasaka and Jyn Erso, I never realized that was like a moment. Like, I didn't realize that was to her as like Vader's redemption is to me. Like, obviously, like for me, it's like I'm just way too invested in the Space Wizards and like, it's like, oh yeah, there's like that arc for Anakin means so much to me that like I had never seen her cry watching Star Wars, and like that took the breath out of me. I was like, oh my god, like, so I equally can't imagine how the Riz and Heaven stuff affected you.
Yeah, I mean, like with anything like that, like when there's a moment of like oh hey, I know what that feels like. That's not good. Or that is good. Like I think I've handled it pretty healthily, all jokes aside. um, and mostly my own jokes.
Yeah.
Um, and like Brendan has this incredible superpower of putting things into words that you felt your whole life of like a very human condition. And he'll just say a thing and you're like that. I know that. And like, I want that power so bad that like that man, we don't deserve him in this world.
No,
We don't.
not at all. Not at all. Watching the time quangles, having not seen Starstruck Odyssey, is really funny because I don't know if you know this. They use Star Wars 5e for Star
Oh
Wars
no,
Odyssey.
I
Starstruck
knew they were
Odyssey.
using an adjusted. I've watched the first or most of the first episode of Starstruck. I haven't. I've seen the pilots of a lot of seasons. What I was doing for a while was I would watch a season, and then when I wasn't before junior year came out, and I was like, all right, time to start something new. And I would shotgun all the pilots until one of them stuck, and I would watch that season, and then I'd shotgun all the pilots again.
That is hilarious. No, but it's really funny because like being so intimately familiar with Star Wars 5e, because what we use for Iron Eyes
Right?
Bastards.
Yeah.
I was having a moment where I was like even more so than normal Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, oh, I know what you're using. I know what class you are without you saying it. Because like
Uh-huh.
the Star Wars 5e classes are fucking bananas. It's a lot of flavoring. Like, Fabian Martell, ex-Inquisitor, Jedi, or like not quite a Jedi trying to be redeemed, whatever. Like if you looked at of like Fabian as a character, you would not make sense to say he's actually a paladin.
But
Like
mechanically,
Fabian Martell mechanically as a paladin, it took me longer than I care to admit to realize that force empowered strikes were just my fucking smites. And that I was playing a paladin. It was how I realized I liked playing a paladin, which I tell people that and they look at me and go, fucking paladin?
how would they look at you? That's the Jedi class. How would they look at you and not think he plays paladin?
People look at me and think warlock or bard.
I see that. I do see. I definitely see Bard for sure.
I don't see bard. I like to fight too much.
Yeah, College of Swords.
I want to strictly be a fighter. I am here.
Fair.
I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I need to know. I think I told you, but my campaign is unfortunately on hold right now. Because I had my busy season, and then right after I was done and could come back to the campaign, our DM had a bad case of the buying a house and has had to tend to that for a while.
That's
so
going around.
Yeah, rare disease these days, actually, from what I understand.
Unfortunately, more rare than measles, but yeah.
So yeah, we're on pause right now. What have I told you what class I'm playing in that campaign?
I don't think you have.
Okay, what class do you see me playing? I'm actually really curious now.
So, personality-wise, what class do I associate with you, or what class do I think you'd have the most fun playing?
Either.
Personality-wise, you do Scream Bard. There's a charisma to you. There is a natural showmanship. You're an incredibly supportive friend. Like I have gotten real life bardic inspiration from you.
I didn't need this today. Thank you.
Listen. We're 15 minminutes in, but we haven't done the show together. And since Christmas, so fuck you all. We have this moment. The biggest real life bardic inspiration I ever got. It was, I don't remember if it was the opening night or the closing night of when we did Godspell in high school, but it was the last time you and I were going to be on stage together. And we both broke down weeping.
Yeah.
Like we really cried our makeup off.
I remember that. Because they do the senior circle thing or whatever.
Yeah, and I was crying during the senior circle looking at you
and
because
I
I look up
wasn't.
to you so much.
I wasn't, and I was like, I'm surprised I didn't cry. Immediately turned to you and broke down. Like it wasn't. It was instant. But
And for those of you who aren't familiar with Godspell, the costume uniform is dress in a Technicolor nightmare patchwork. So I'm standing there in like fluorescent bright blue Nike foam posits on my feet, yellow dicky pants, an orange and green flannel, a purple sport coat, and a stormtrooper helmet ball cap. I don't even fucking remember what you had on, but I know that turning around and seeing this like weird nerdy bozo the clown with a Star Wars bow tie on as well, I can't imagine the image that produced of like that visage, but so okay. So I see you as a bard. I think of you as a bard. I'm assuming it's something that's going to throw me for a loop.
I would think so because when I've told other people that have an idea of what D&D, like at least kind of know D&D, they are surprised to hear me say it.
Wizard.
You're close.
Sorcerer?
Wild Magic Sorcerer inspired by Allie Beardsley.
I was gonna say it.
I also didn't know that's not how Wild Magic Sorcerer works. That is a homebrew for Unsleeping City. And I full face told my DM that's how it works. That like it increments up every time you roll the thing. And we've had so much fun with it. I set myself off like a bomb within our second session. Lived. I'm a rabbit person. I'm a Harangon named Roger D. Rabbit. And yes, I know it sounds like a meme character. I've been one of the most serious characters in the campaign, so fuck off. But yeah, I didn't know that your wild magic thing doesn't tick up every time you don't hit. It's just on that ones.
So it's funny you say that because I too was under the impression that's how it worked. So season 2 of Ionized Bastards, when you get to it, because season 1 we used the Star Wars Fantasy Flight system, but season 2 we transitioned to Star Wars 5e. Michael and I homebrewed a mechanic for Fabin called Cycle of Hate because he and I really wanted to like get into Fabin and his like relationship with the Force and like him going back and forth between, you know, it's like one of the reasons I like stories about dark side characters is that temptation of like the power, the immediate sense of power versus like the effect it has on your soul. So we had a mechanic called Cycle of Hate where on my bonus turn I could attack again and deal like I can't remember the exact details, but it was like I could attack again and do a shit ton more damage, and then I immediately had to do a wisdom saving throw. And if I failed, I took the same amount of damage I dealt as psychic damage. Which I was like, I was so proud of that idea he and I had of like, this is what trying to resist the dark side should feel like.
Yeah.
When you give yourself over to it. And in the second episode of Bastard season 2, it was like, again, the dice wanted to tell the story as much as we wanted to. It was so fun because like we were in a combat that was really fun and I used Cycle of Hate and I passed and it was fine. But like at the end, we get jumped by another guy and like Jerry from Bombad Cast, his character was on death's door, and like in character, Fabin's freaking out, and he cuts loose, and I failed that save on Cycle of Hate, and like did an insane amount of damage to myself, trying like bloodlusting a Mandalorian by myself. But
the one that you denied the right to heaven to?
Yeah, the one that I denied the right to go to heaven to. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Drock Wraith, burn in hell. Mild spoiler for season 2 of Ionized Bastards. You know who ends up ultimately killing him because he comes back in the final episode?
I no.
Thobor. Our lawyer, Ithorian lawyer bard, basically, who famously can't hit the broadside of a sandcrawler in combat, basically single-handedly murdered a Mandalorian.
Sometimes it goes like that.
Hey, in the immortal words of the great American poet Kendrick Lamar, who I have a very cute sticker of now on my new water bottle. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show them. But with all of that fun D&D talk, which we have to stop because it will
It will be the whole show.
It will be the whole show. We will talk about any news. I'll have to make a new thumbnail. I don't want to do that. Travis, we are sitting here on June 3rd looking ahead to what is going to hopefully be a banner month for blockbusters.
We sure are.
We have Fantastic Four First Steps, Superman, and Jurassic World, whatever the fuck. I say that Taylor and I have decided that we're going to try to watch all of the Jurassic Park movies because I've only seen Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. I have not seen any of the other parks or worlds.
I think I've seen all of Park. My Not Real 90s Baby is showing. I think I've seen all of Park. I've seen a good bit of I say good bit in that way that like movies that are on cable a lot because they're not good and no one likes them. That's how Jurassic Park 3 is, right? Am I misremembering this?
I'm pretty sure. Like I said, I've only seen the first Jurassic Park and I've only seen the first Jurassic World.
So, yeah, I saw the first Jurassic World in theaters and it was okay. It was
it's all right.
And I'm pretty sure the second Jurassic Park is good, but the third one isn't great. And therefore it gets relegated to the Iron Man 2 slot of being on TNT everywhere you go. Rewatched Iron Man 2 recently. Holds up. Fucking love that movie.
We can end the show that your first episode back since Christmas was a 20-minute non sequitur about Dungeons and Dragons. Saw Iron Man 2 holds up. I can get class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.
As you were saying.
Yeah, so I also have not seen much of the franchise. I've never really been into. I mean, like obviously dinosaurs are cool as shit. And the first couple of movies are like both technical marvels and cinematic marvels. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. The new ones have not really done it for me. So,
is Rebirth the name of the new one?
I keep forgetting there is a new one, to be honest. And you know what's funny about that? Their advert. I could have told you that. It's on my can of Dr. Pepper.
I've seen people saying that they think Jurassic World Rebirth is going to outperform Superman at the box office. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think that's going to go down like that. But I've seen some people saying that the tracking for Rebirth is better than Superman. But either way, I just want to touch on that up top. That and we'll talk about this in a minute as well. I get annoyed when I watch the internet try to make another Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Like, that was just such a great, unique moment in movie-going history. But I got a notification on my Apple Watch for the Knowledge Fight subreddit and got jump scared by Alex Jones on my hand. But
no, Jared, that's the tattoo you got on your wrist.
Yeah. If we get like 100 people on the Patreon, I'll get an Alex Jones tattoo. That's legally binding.
There's like a $100 tier that's Jared gets an Alex Jones tattoo.
Here's what I'll do.
For every increment of, we'll decide the increment. For every increment of money higher than whatever the base is, it has to be on a more visible location.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like baseline is gonna be right here. I'll get a tramp stamp right here. That will just say, "I will eat your liberal ass." You can tell Travis and I are feeling punchy because I felt the urge to show the camera my lower back.
Yeah.
You get it to $1,000. I will like on my chest get like I will get because here's what I'll do. Here's what I'll do because I already plan on getting a Jar Jar Binks tattoo soon.
Yeah.
Those is similar to the Kylo Ren one I have with like the flower around it. It's gonna look it's kind of gonna look like the fucking Jar Jar Binks Roosevelt, but it's Jar Jar with a flower. It looks perfect. I'm not getting it because of the Roosevelt. I'm getting it because the Roosevelt's the best look of it. And originally, the band of text was gonna say bomb bad. If the Patreon gets to a certain level, I will have it say Jar Jar Binks has a Caribbean black accent.
I just pictured like at first you said it and it was funny, and then I pictured it in my head and it got so much better. It's one of those things that you like. Those words shouldn't be in that order, and like the concept of it is just so funny.
This episode is going to be fucking terrible. Have you heard? I don't. You listened to all the formulaic objections episodes of Knowledge Fight?
No,
There's a great
but
moment, and it's in the episode where Dan from Knowledge Fight is actually at the deposition.
mhm.
And the out of context clip they play with Alex Jones under oath is asked, "Do you know who Jar Jar Binks is?" And he says no. He perjured himself.
Yeah, of all why?
And it's only funny because one of the funny bumpers on Knowledge Fight is Jar Jar Binks has a Caribbean black accent. Anyway, I get annoyed when people try to make Barbenheimer happen again. And what I like so much about this July we have to look forward to is like this isn't Barbenheimer. It's not Superman, Fantastic Four, and Jurassic World Rebirth are all coming out on the same day, but they're all so close together. Like it feels like the platonic ideal of what like a summer movie going experience feels like.
Yeah, I get that.
It's like next year with Mandalorian and Grogu, which again, more on that in a minute. But like as much as I have been so programmed for Star Wars at Christmas time, there is a part of me that is like chomping at the bit to have the Star Wars experience of old. You know, because the only other Star Wars project that came or movie that came out in May was Solo, and I love Solo. I ride for that fucking movie to the day I die. But as someone who's like too clued into the behind the scenes stuff, I went into Solo with that like, oh man, I hope this is going to be good. And I read all the spoilers before I saw it because I was like, we'll see. So I didn't get the full experience. Mandalorian and Grogu, is like the first time like I get to see a Star Wars movie in May as an adult and be like, yeah, like inject that shit into my veins, man. So that's why I'm so excited about July. I just want to touch on that. Like I just think there's something really cool that's on the horizon. But speaking of movies that are coming out, that are coming down the pipeline, and namely Mandalorian and Grogu, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars have both been delayed to December 2026 and 2027, respectively. Originally, we were looking at a May 1st, 2026 release date for Doomsday next year. That has been pushed to December 18th, 2026. And Secret Wars, which was supposed to have a May 7th, 27, has been pushed to December 17th, 27. Now, for me personally, this news excited me so much because speaking of Solo and speaking of Mandalorian and Grogu, I've been really scared about Doomsday and Mando and Grogu being so close to each other. I just like first of all, I don't want to have to choose between them, not in terms of what I'll see, because I'll be seeing both. But in terms of like
the manufactured, like, if for whatever reason they're trying to actually sabotage Mandalorian and Grogu, like that would be the way to do it. In the way that we've known, I almost said firms. Jesus, I've been at work too much. We've known studios to sabotage other projects in that similar. Look at Solo, but like.
But with Solo, the fucked up part was it was Disney doing it to Disney.
Yeah, but in those ways of like, they have Disney Plus on the horizon and they want to be able to push the platform and make shows. So they're going to say, well, the Star Wars movies are out. Star Wars shows are in, right? For whatever reason. Maybe it's more cost effective. Maybe they think it's going to be a higher profit yield. We see the same thing with animation, right? We have 2D animated stuff coming in early 2000s. It's expensive as shit to make. 3D animation has proven to be much more cost effective. So we have to tank our really good 2D animated movies with no marketing, right? We have to manufacture a failure.
Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet. So I don't know why, and like obviously they're choosing not to do that, which is good.
And I'm sure it's much more of a production thing. I'm sure that Mando and Grogu and Doomsday would have been able to coexist better than Solo did. Because again, like Solo was getting it from all fronts. Because Solo not only had to compete with Infinity War, but also Incredibles 2 and also Deadpool 2. And it's like, look at all these highly anticipated sequels, including one of the movie events of all time, second only to the other movie event of all time, which was the follow-up to that. You have basically the number one Star Wars movie that quote unquote nobody asked for.
Yeah. That had very public production issues.
That had very bad press going in. Yeah.
So yeah. And like I'm not saying they my conspiracy brain obviously does its thing, but I'm not saying they sabotage Solo fully on purpose, if at all.
No, I think they bought into their hype too much and thought that like Disney was just going to
they could do it.
That they were going to be able to manage like Infinity War and Solo both making bank at the same time. Right.
And I mean, like you, for different reasons, honestly, because I keep forgetting Mandalorian and Grogu is a thing. I love me some Star Wars, but I'll tell you what, I've been out of the ring for a little bit. I need to watch Andor season 2. I'm behind. But
very good.
I've heard good things. My favorite thing about Andor is that because it's such a niche pocket of Star Wars lore, it can't really be spoiled. You know, like in the way that like Luke showing up in Mandalorian can get spoiled for somebody.
Yeah.
Right. Like the moments for listeners, I did like the big.
He did a Wojak. He did the Wojak.
Yeah, I got the word for it for a minute. Like those moments can't get spoiled for me with Andor, so I know I'm pretty much safe. And you know that I'm not a big spoilers guy anyway. But like, unless it's something I'm like actively watching, I might care. But like again, I'm wherever 2 weeks out from the series finale or season finale. I guess series finale, because doesn't it lead right into Rogue One?
Directly.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, I can't really get. I know K2SO's in it. I knew K2SO was going to be in it. That's the only thing I know.
Yeah.
And I saw your tweet this morning about even a little, like, which isn't a specific spoiler. Obviously, it's just like a character dies in a movie about war or in a show about war. Who knew? But I did find it very funny.
Seeing that scene that I won't get into detail for your sake next to the picture of smiling Kit Fisto during the Battle of Geonosis.
Even a little bit of whimsy will get you.
Yeah, well, they want those Emmys so nobody in the show can be a fucking alien. That's a conversation for the other show because that'll eclipse the fucking D&D talk. But yeah, like I said, there's not a whole lot of meat on the bone. Oh, sorry, you were about to speak again. I apologize.
No, I think this is good. I think buy all the time you need. At this point, I think we're on an upswing. You know, the classic Marvel's over, Marvel's back, Marvel's over, Marvel's back swing. I think Thunderbolts brought us back onto a Marvel's back swing. I know I wasn't on for the review, I really love Thunderbolts. I thought it was a really great movie.
Cool.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. I didn't catch it in theaters. I just watched Brave New World over the weekend. Clearly had production issues, but besides that, I also really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if you saw. We didn't cover it on the channel just because I was like in the heat of it. I was like, I'm not going to talk about it because of the boycott stuff. You're good. I was just like, I wasn't going to do a review and add to like hype around the movie, but I also did. I thought it was okay. It was.
oh wait, so I didn't know about a thing going into it, and I will be because again, we're both very open for Palestine.
Yes.
But is it because of the one character that's in it?
Yeah, it is because of the one actor who is inexplicably worse than Gal Gadot.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so because at first I was like, I don't know who this character is, and then they gave some of her backstory, or their we know gave some of their backstory, and I was like, that's a little touchy to put in this movie. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, just on that topic, because I don't know how much I've even said on camera, but I do not think, because this movie was well into production and being written and being produced before all holy hell broke loose. Granted, all holy hell has been happening for well over 50 years, but before all holy hell really broke loose and it became like the news topic of the day for a while now, as it should be and should be talked about even more. And knowing how much that movie had been like cut and recut and made and remade, like Sidewinder went from being Seth freaking Rollins to Giancarlo Esposito. Like levels
They
of
had the decision they could have made, and they chose not.
you could have cut this completely. Like, and I'm normally not in the business of like, oh, this character is useless. This bitch is useless. Like, there's no like, she brings nothing to the plot, and I understand. You kind of pulled a character at random from the comics. They do that all the time. They did that weirdly with Daredevil Born Again as well, where there's like a cop from the comics who is like just a jobber cop who's there to get his ass beat by Frank and Matt. I get that impulse of like, let's just pull a random fucking person from the comics. Not the best person to pick, and the actor is a fucking ghoul. So there's that. But no, as you were saying, and I agree. Like, Marvel's dead, Marvel's back from Brave New World into Thunderbolts.
Right. I think we're going to have 2 hits in a row with Thunderbolts into Fantastic Four. And then at that point, people are going to be ready to take all the time they need for another Avengers event. I don't know how much that's been talked about here because, again, I've been out of the loop. I'm firmly convinced we're going to get bait and switch, and it's going to be Avengers versus X-Men.
So it's funny you say that because I kind of said the same thing.
I kind of thought you would.
So I know everybody who's listening has heard me say this before, but so get you up to speed. Here's my theory. We've talked about this part. Dr. Doom is Tony Stark, not Victor Von Doom. It's a fucking misdirect that they keep calling him Victor. It's not Victor.
It's not Jason Todd.
There's no fucking baby.
Yeah.
So my thing is, we talked about evil Tony Stark, learned all the wrong lessons, learned sorcery to defeat Thanos, blah, 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 blah. What I think is happening is this evil Tony is coming to the MCU Earth as this herald of the end times of like, hey, the multiverse is caving in on itself. I need your help to help me stop that from happening. And there's another Earth about to collide with ours, and it's full of these other powered people who want to stop me. And that'll be the X-Men Earth. And that evil Tony is going to be pitting the Avengers, who are going to, by default, trust an Iron Man.
Right.
While the X-Men universe is justifiably trying to make it so that their Earth isn't the one that gets eaten in the process. And while all of that is happening, I think Tony, much how it is like, the Beyonder and Molecule Man in the comics, I think that Tony is going to be gunning for Sentry and Loki to harness the power to be able to like remake the multiverse in his image. And by the time the X-Men and the Avengers realize that they're fighting the same fight, it'll be too late.
Mhm.
And Doctor Doom, Tony Stark, will have already won. So, and that's the truncated version of it because I've rambled too much on this episode already. But I think you're right. I think it is going to devolve, not in a negative way, but like Tony in the narrative is going to make it devolve into Avengers versus X-Men, so that all of the people who could stop him are preoccupied with each other while he's angling the Avengers to do his bidding.
Yeah. So whatever they need to do to make that work, sure.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm, like No Way Home coming out around Christmas time was so much fun. I'm excited, to kind of have Star Wars and Marvel switch places. Marvel became such a summertime tentpole, and Star Wars became the Christmas time one, that I'm kind of excited to see what it feels like to see them kind of flip flop. So we shall see. But yeah, so we got that. Avengers getting delayed on both. Hey Travis, I think the gaming industry's fucking cooked.
Yeah.
I think entertainment might be cooked. You got some bad news. EA's Black Panther game being made by Cliffhanger Studios is being canceled, and Cliffhanger is being closed. I'm gonna read a little bit from the article from IGN. Rebecca Valentine on the byline. Electronic Arts is canceling its planned Black Panther game and shutting down developer Cliffhanger Games, IGN has learned. In an email sent to staff from EA, President Laura Meal said that these changes, alongside other recent cancellations and layoffs, are being done to, quote, sharpen our focus and put our creative energy behind the most significant growth opportunities, unquote. Boo!
What do you think those growth opportunities are?
AI and CEOs, baby.
So you get 2 letters. Take a guess.
In addition to closing Cliffhangers and canceling Black Panther, EA is also laying off some of the individuals on both its mobile and central teams. When asked for an exact number of individuals impacted, EA declined to comment. IGN understands the number of affected individuals in this wave is less than the roughly 300 roles cut last month across both Respawn and EA's fan care teams. But yeah, so that is a gut punch. That is deeply disappointing and frustrating. I'm, I can't pretend to be surprised. Allegedly, that Iron Man game is still happening. I know people are getting increasingly worried about Insomniac's Wolverine because it's been nothing but crickets since that devastating leak last year.
Yeah.
But just really disappointing stuff. We hate to see people losing their jobs. We hate to see art that was being, had blood, sweat, and tears poured into it, not get to see the light of day. It's just more of these companies eating their employees and the art they're supposed to be making alive. And it is deeply disappointing and unsurprising all at the same time.
Yeah, the game. Yeah, it's not great. It's I have a sneaking suspicion we're gonna see a little more of this going forward.
I do too. There's a handful that I'm like really worried about. Like I'm not worried about, but like I'm worried about how it will be affected. Like obviously, like again, as is the case with these stories, as we have said before, the primary tragedy are the people losing work in an already unstable industry. That is the biggest. That is the biggest unfortunate event at play. As a fan of the art that gets made by these companies, I am worried about what this will mean maybe for Jedi 3. Like, I don't think they're going to let that game get canceled, but like, the Jedi games have already had such like insane crunch, and those games already come out low key unfinished.
Yeah.
I'm worried about what that would spell for Jedi.
Yeah, I think Jedi is probably, like you said, probably safe. I think right now the biggest thing, I mean, the principal outside of games, obviously the principal example of what's been happening is with WB, where they're just like shooting themselves in the foot in the name of a profit line that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Where they think they're being cost effective and they are cutting their losses. I can't wait for, like, assuming we're all still here in 2 to 3 years, that we're probably going to get some kind of tell-all expose, either in a video essay or some kind of, breaking headline from an anonymous source about the, like, business reason. And when I say reasons, I don't mean them to be like good choices, but like,
not good reasons, but the excuses they make.
yeah, what was the justification on the balance sheet, right? Because, like, you don't cut something with this much cost already that could make money unless there's like some kind of business bullshittery reason that, and like, obviously the thing is, like, if you take it as a loss, it's a tax cut or whatever, but we've never seen it on this scale, right?
No.
Like, the number of movies we've watched WB acts for likely that reason, but even then it doesn't make sense. This is the headliner of the games that got canceled, but I'm sure there are others that were further, somewhat further down the pipeline than they should have been to get canceled.
Yeah.
And we won't know maybe ever, or at least for a long time. And I have to imagine there's something going on in those boardrooms that's like not public knowledge. Whether it's the realization that the metrics they've been chasing aren't real and actually their business will fail. And so they're doing everything in their power to, like, try to stop that, or if there's something else going on. But
it's just tragic,
Yeah.
we're seeing this happen across the board. Every single big dog in town, be it film, television, gaming, everything is eating itself right now, and it's all a direct result of the endless growth bullshit that is unobtainable and the punch will be lessened from these companies by fucking the people who make them what they are, and
yeah,
it's just an unfortunate continuation of everything.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. We're too big to fail, in the sense that the board members' money is protected and I'm safe, and so it doesn't matter what happens at any level beneath me, right?
Yeah.
So,
on a lighter note,
this story is important. I have a thing to show on camera that I forgot to tell you about. You keep talking.
Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit from this Entertainment Weekly article from Nick Romano as well. So we knew that Marvel and DC had a new crossover event coming out soon. As I believe Jim Lee says in this article, it's like a once-in-a-generation thing that the big two like to do. We had that big amalgam event where everybody got mashed up before. Back in the day, we had Spider-Man and Superman. Now we are getting did it say when it's supposed to come out? It did, and I saw it and I forgot it.
Top of the line, I just see 2026.
Okay, yeah. So maybe that's just the slated date.
September
Either way,
17th.
we were going to be. What was that?
Story kicking off this September 17th.
Okay, cool. So September 17th this year, we are getting Batman and Deadpool. Can I be honest for a second?
Yeah.
I know people like to joke that I just like everything.
I
think this is kind of cheeks.
Yeah.
I think Batman and Deadpool's a really boring crossover.
I think we're just kind of Deadpooled out, to be honest.
It's not even that I'm Deadpooled out, Because every time I think I'm Deadpooled out, I realize that like in the right hands, that character really sings for me.
Like mine.
Oh wait! Oh, let me full screen you.
Yeah, wait. Let me. Yeah. So, Magic the Gathering does its Universes Beyond things now. I don't like it and don't think it should exist, but I am a sucker for capitalism. So, I didn't order these online. The shop in Latrobe that's back open.
Woo-woo.
Yeah, they're open and better than ever. Renovations are going great. Had some
Next
of these
time
in
I'm in
stock.
town, I gotta check them out. I wanna.
Oh, the North Huntington store. Yeah, dude, I was going there over the summer. Yeah, that store's great. I know the man. Yeah, they have a location in North Huntington.
Fuck yeah! I put my
It's
head down.
the manager there ran the Magic events at the Latrobe store before everything happened, and then she went
Oh.
there. Yeah, no, great location, great store, great people. Support your local hobby shops
Yes.
because they're really cool.
Yes.
But yeah, we're getting Marvel cards kind of filtered. In August, we are getting a full standard legal Spider-Man set, which means Jarod will now be playing Magic the Gathering.
Listen, Doc Ock looks too good. That's the issue. Like,
I'm dead serious. I'll teach you to play to come to pre-release. There's a store near you that I went to for the last set's release. It's in an old commercial gym, so the actual inside of the room is huge. Like we had a 50-person event running for this set release, and they had an entire half the store open. Like we were not fighting for space, and half the store was completely open for anyone else that just wanted to chill out. Place rules. If you're in the Monroeville area, Guy on the Couch Games.
never heard of it. I'll have to check it out. You'll have to take me. And show me around. No,
Yeah.
that Deadpool art is beautiful.
Yeah.
But no, I just sorry. Oh,
No, you're
yeah,
good. I'm just showing them off.
Yeah, you're supposed to
Oh.
so we can see them.
I can't. I'm doing it reverse, and I can't figure out how to make my hands work. But
Hold on. Let me put this one closer to me so I can actually see what you have in your hands here. So we
Yeah.
got.
so these are
I mean,
all.
everybody can see it except for me. I just want to see it.
Oh yeah.
It's all weighed. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they did one. So they did sets for the ones released online. It was Wolverine, Storm, Captain America, Iron Man, and Black Panther. And so the cards of them are unique. Like this is a unique Deadpool. Mechanically unique is what we call them, but like there's no other card in the game that has this text. And then these are all reprinted cards. Like these cards exist within Magic lore with Magic art that just have now featured Deadpool on them. So, Marvel crossovers.
You might get me with Spider-Man, but once Star Wars happens is when I'm fucked.
Okay, so here's the deal. I don't think they would do it because Disney stuff, but then I think this is more of a Marvel Comics than an MCU thing. That being said, we're getting a Space Odyssey set this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think based on the art I've seen, if we do get any kind of crossover with it, like they've done it before. There's a dinosaur plane location in Magic, and we got Jurassic Park cards like kind of in the packs of that. If they do anything for the space opera set, it's going to be Dune,
which makes
sense.
I'm
down. Yeah. If you saw the art of because like Magic doesn't have space, but they kind of have space, and so they're going to have kind of space suits, but they look like the what are they called? Still suits, but white.
Oh, I dig it. Oh, speaking of Dune, Avengers Doomsday now shares a release date with Dune Messiah.
Yeah, Avengers Doomsday.
We'll see how that goes. That was the one thing I forgot from that. You bringing up Dune reminded me.
Yeah, I don't know. The Marvel, Batman and Deadpool feels like an odd combination.
Here's my thing. It feels a little too predictable. Like pairing up Batman with Deadpool, it's just like, oh, they're so different. So like, what the story can you tell? Like Yeah,
It's
congratulations. Like the serious tortured one has to work with the also tortured one who's like an irreverent hard ass. Not to be that guy, because again, I think you can tell similar stories and then be meaningfully different and meaningful in their own right. But like I just saw this movie last year of pairing Deadpool up with a grizzled with a grizzled hard ass who does not enjoy any of this shit.
and
And I
they're going to
know
make
that's how
that
they're
joke.
gonna, huh?
They're going to make that joke in the comments
They're gonna
or in the
make that
comic.
joke in the fucking book. That
Yeah.
like Deadpool's gonna be like, oh wow, you're even harder to make laugh than Hugh, and it's gonna be like, and then we're all gonna fucking clap, and it's I don't know, man. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that like I could do better, that I'd have a
Right.
better team up.
It's
Like if it was me in control, it'd be Spider-Man and Batman, and it'd be an even worse matchup because it's just I want to see my two faves together. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have a better idea. I just feel like the angle is too obvious,
mhm.
And it
Yeah.
feels like for Deadpool, when the humor is too obvious,
It
that's when I
stops.
get worried.
Yeah.
Like the humor for Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie, I think is great because while it's obvious, it has such a big bench for jokes.
Yeah.
And I would go so far as to say that a lot of the humor in Deadpool and Wolverine was not the exact joke I was expecting every time.
Mhm.
There's
there's a we're in on it joke, and it's a thing where like if you take it, you watch Game Changer, and we're back to Dropout. Did you watch this? Not this week's episode of Game Changer, but the one from 2 weeks ago.
Was that the Olympics one?
No, it was the stand-up one.
Oh, I keep forgetting that it's a bi-weekly release. So the last episode. Yeah.
Yeah, in the words of our short king Sam Reich, if you take it far enough, it works.
Yeah.
We're like the joke of like these characters don't really line up, and the joke went a step further and said this should have happened a long time ago. Like it shouldn't work, which makes it obvious, which means we should have done it 10 years ago and we didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And so at that point, you've taken it far enough, and it works.
And they could do that here. They could very well do that here. But Batman's too serious while Deadpool's making jokes. Deadpool's a killer. Batman isn't. Batman takes himself too seriously. Deadpool's talking to the audience. It just, again, I'm oversimplifying it. I could be completely proven wrong. But my initial reaction to it being Bruce Wayne and Wade Wilson would probably be a joke. Deathstroke will probably show up, and one of them will be like, "Oh, we're the same fucking guy. Your name sounds like mine. No, my name sounds like yours." It's just I just feel like every moment I think about this, I can immediately predict what they're going to say and what the tone is going to be. Now they also do say that there's going to be a lot of backup stories with other Marvel crossovers, so I'm excited to see what that's like.
Yeah.
I think there could be a lot of really cool ones there. I don't know, and that's where I think an obvious team up would be better. I would rather have a backup story that's like Deadpool and Red Hood.
That would be fun. That would be very fun.
Because because to me it's not 18 different layers of why they can't get along for when they will inevitably become best friends. Because with Bruce you have to get past the seriousness, the no kill rule, the mission where Wade is a mercenary who kills and doesn't take anything seriously, and eventually they'll inevitably bond over how Wade is this sad clown and Bruce is this is still that little boy in the alley. All of that will happen. I think it's more compelling if it's Jason. And it's they both can bond over that. We play a character, but on the inside, we're just really hurt.
Yeah.
And the only difference is, and again, we're running into the same issue of I saw this movie last summer and I liked it quite a bit, but it's still that, whatever, but there's more of a connection between them. One moment. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I'm very excited for this. I'm not going to shoot it down out of hand. I'm just like, these are one of those instances where, like, we'll see. You know, I'm waiting to get sold on it, but we'll see what happens here. You know, again, there's another one, but like, did they hear like in the article? You know, in Batman, we found someone who has even less time for Deadpool's antics than Wolverine, but a citywide threat from the Joker makes strange bedfellows. Literally, if Deadpool had his way, like again, it's going to be like, Bruce, why haven't you killed this guy already? Like, I hear it already. I'm waiting to be proven wrong. I have an open mind. The initial sell.
Yeah,
I'm not sold. But time will tell. It's still very exciting, and a kind of like they said, once in a generation thing. One last quick breezy story before we get into what will inevitably be a segment unto itself. We have official confirmation that Kristen Ritter will be reprising her role as Jessica Jones in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Travis, have you seen Daredevil Born Again?
no, because I'm lazy and I need to.
All right, we got to get you caught up. We got to get you into boot camp here. Season ends with Daredevil saying that he needs an army of superhumans to help take the city back from Wilson Fisk, and you know everybody's kind of predicting most of that army will be made up by the Defenders. Iron Fist TBD. But Ritter coming back is very exciting. I love her, Jessica Jones. Like I said, not much on the bone here, just aside from she'll be back and she'll be playing Jessica, and we're very excited for it.
Yeah. I've been having this conversation of a lot of, I hope we get to the point, because part of the issue with the MCU is like, as a concept, is that it doesn't work in perpetuity, where in the way that comics can maintain a storyline for years at a time continuously and not have to worry about an actor getting old or not wanting to be in the project anymore because they just reasonably want to move on to other work. That maybe we move on to a point where the MCU can evolve to freely recast characters within the same continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And because we've kind of been doing the reverse, right? So like we've been
bringing them back.
Right. We've been bringing them back in a way of like either just saying they were with Daredevil, we were like, no, actually these were here the whole time.
Yeah.
Much like which is fine. Yeah. Or we're doing everything in our narrative power to make these characters come in, multiverse shenanigans.
Yeah.
I think the next logical step is that we treat actor changeouts like art style changeouts, so that when Tom Holland wants to move on and do other shit, he can, and someone else can keep playing that Peter Parker, and we can all just be like, yeah, cool, new person gets a shot at it. We still get to see this character's story. Neat, right? And we don't have to worry about 30-year-old Tom Holland playing a 22-year-old. And that age gap getting wider and wider, right? Mm-hmm. I pointed at myself because Tom Holland and I are the same age, and it's gross. But like stuff like this excites, like the reverse excites me as well. Where like we had this very great casting, this very great character that we all loved, and now we get to see them in the world that we thought like Jessica Jones is great on its own. We thought we would get it more involved into the Marvel Universe as we were experiencing it. And then these shows had to get pocketed for a bit. And now we get to do the Defenders thing. Now we get to do the New York Streets thing in this world that's already established. And I like that. Same with the X-Men, right? We can keep all of the ones we want, recast the ones we don't, and it's fine. I'm hoping what this leads to is the next logical step of like, maybe Robert Pattinson doesn't want to play his Batman again, but we want to keep seeing that version of Batman. Mm-hmm. So we switch out the actor. And we can all just be chill and go see a goddamn Batman movie.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
no, I agree with that. I think that right now, like, it gets butts in seats for like, oh, this one from your childhood is back, la da da whatever. But I think there also is something to be said for the fact that, like, for all the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it was always hamstrung by the like shattered nature of the rights to the characters.
Yeah.
And I think that there is, frankly, and again, maybe Little Piggy just likes his nostalgia slop, but I think there is something to be said for a well-earned right to be like, and now Hugh Jackman's Wolverine gets to interact with the Avengers. God damn it!
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That like I think that there is like a freedom there of being able to celebrate the ability to do that in the first place, of like having Patrick Stewart show up in Multiverse of Madness in a hover chair that never would have flown in the 2000s.
Yeah, I agree.
Stuff like that. We're like, again, and I understand, like, on some level it might be cynical from the studios, but I do think on an artistic level it is exciting to be able to go, oh, look, the business end that had us shackled to never acknowledge the existence of these other things is gone now.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think it's the next, because I mean Hugh Jackman's another great example, right? He's going to be doing this till he's 80 or whatever, or 90, whatever the line is.
Yeah.
Well, that can't be true. That's not how aging works. And that's not like, I don't want Hugh to retire, but I mean, even if you just look at Robert Downey Jr.'s aging from Avengers to Endgame, or from Avengers, from Iron Man, or even Avengers to Endgame, right?
Yeah.
We're like, he's only supposed to be like 50. Actually, in universe, I don't remember how old he's supposed to be, like 40, maybe. We gonna Google it?
Google.
We have magic boxes. It's the Stranger Things effect.
Yeah.
It's the. So
He's 53 when he dies in Endgame.
Okay. And Endgame came out in 2019. 2018.
19.
No, 2019. It was 19. RDJ was.
He is 60.
Yes, he was 54. So he was the right age. I'll be damned. Folks, everything I said, man, scrap it. We're done. No, keep them all.
Well, yeah, like I said, excited for that. And to kind of come into our final topic, which is going to be a bit of a doozy on the topic of recasting, I think it goes without saying, and it may have already been said, we will not be covering the Harry Potter show on this channel, nor will we be keeping.
I'm finding out now.
How long have you had that pretend shocked joke in the chamber?
45 seconds.
I love you. But we will not be covering the Harry Potter show, nor will we be covering the news around it in any real way. That said, I want to make a quick exception to talk about something that I've been thinking about a lot. I think the fandom culture, or the fandom culture war, is about to experience a fucking singularity. Like, I think we are on the event horizon of the grifter sphere exploding, not necessarily for the better, but for a lot of people to kind of get their brains turned into mush in a way hitherto unknown since The Last Jedi.
I almost made a joke about a very real military operation that happened yesterday because that was the first thing that came to mind.
Lord. And if I can explain what I mean by that, and if I may do a little bit of Pepe Sylvia for a minute.
Yes.
I've said before that the MCU fandom did to itself in a year what it took Star Wars fans to do in 10. And when I say that, what I'm referring to is doing a revisionist history so profound and detached from reality that it convinced itself that a golden age of that fandom and that franchise existed that never did. And that 10-year gap for Star Wars fans, for the most part, was between the original theatrical run of the original trilogy and the special editions. And this revisionist idea that George was never fucking with the movies, when a week after Star Wars came out, it got the subtitle A New Hope. And that there were like, what was it, 2 or 3 other prints of the movie in circulation. Now, granted, those different versions of the movie were different sound mixed versions, pretty minimal. Doesn't change the text of what's on screen. It's nothing as, egregiously changed as who shoots first in Shalman's Cantina or the deleted scene with Jabba the Hutt or anything like that. But George was still changing that movie.
He's always had his fingers in the pie.
He's always had his fingers in the pie. And then we get to the prequels. And then it's, Star Wars is never this goofy and this silly. Well, there's the Ewoks and 3PO and a lot of the shit in Jabba's palace. And Yoda's kind of insane and ridiculous. But fine, whatever. Then we get to the sequels. And then it's, it's political, it's woke. And what they mean is there's women and black people. But, it's political, it's woke, it's all these things. And, this isn't Luke's character, it's just this continuous thing of like, we're looking back on it and we think it's different than it was, but it isn't because we're not experiencing it as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And the MCU fans did that. It's not, the MCU doesn't have a plan anymore. Well, the whole Infinity Saga thing was kind of a late stage addition. We were always building to Thanos, but there was a lot of shit that seemed kind of on the fly during the Infinity Saga. It's woke and political, and like whether or not its politics are good, you can't really look me in the eyes and tell me that Iron Man isn't a deeply political movie. Or all the movies about Captain America fighting and killing Nazis. Can't really tell me that's not political,
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is about to happen is a much worse version of what happened to the Star Wars fandom in the 2010s to Harry Potter and the Wizarding World. And the reason I think that's going to happen, the reason I'm concerned about it, is because I see a very stark similarity between Star Wars and Harry Potter in terms of fandom. There is a term for people who are politically active, let me rephrase that, who vote.
Politically activated.
Politically activated, but are not watching the news, keeping up with politics. Their media diet is not them listening to podcasts about current events. The political ads that find them where they are. They're not seeking it out. They're not necessarily watching debates. They'll see clips online. But like their media diet is mostly not the news and politics. And they're called low information voters. I dropped my pencil and now I'll never be able to think again. Hold on.
You need something to gesture with.
I need something to gesture with. Star Wars and Harry Potter have a lot of low information fans. And when I say that, I don't mean that as a pejorative. I know it sounds like an insult, but it isn't. What I mean by that,
I'm using that from now on, by the way.
The low information fans?
Yeah. For everything.
And I think you know where I'm going with it.
Oh, yeah.
There is, I think, a pretty staggering number of fans of both Star Wars and Harry Potter, especially back in the 2010s for Star Wars, where you have a lot of people who love these fucking movies, but have never picked up a book or a comic or only played a couple games. But they love Star Wars and they want to know more about it. So then they go to YouTube and they go to the internet and they learn about all of these ideas and these events within the canonicity and all of these concepts without experiencing the story directly. And they have a lot of second or often third-hand knowledge about these fandoms and franchises. So you develop this group of people who have never experienced the media and therefore do not have a nuanced opinion about it. All they know is kind of like a kid using AI to study for a history exam. I know this battle happened on this date, and these were the commanding officers of it between these two armies, and it happened here, and this is how it ended. They know of the existence of a thing. They do not understand what it is about. And again, that is not a condemnation.
We all have things that we are this way about.
We all have things that we're this way about. I joke about me being this weird closeted Five Nights at Freddy's fans. Like, I've never played a single one of those fucking games. You know, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. A lot of people who get deeply invested and fall madly in love with these fandoms start as a low information fan. That is not a bad thing. That is not a slur. But a lot of those people allow the YouTubers and the commentators to define their knowledge therein. And again, those YouTubers aren't all bad. We here in the Star Wars fandom, we have this this rogues gallery of grifters and illiterates who have destroyed the fucking fandom because of this phenomenon. But then there's always people like fucking Alex Damon and Molly Damon. You know, Star Wars Explained is a net positive, a stark net positive for the Star Wars fandom. Especially as with time, Alex and Molly have basically gone, we've told everybody there is to know about the dates, places, and locations, and have focused so much more on theme and ideas in the recent years. And I love them for that. I'm so glad that they aren't just kind of like, you know, bottom of the barrel, you know, the secret origins of Grand Admiral Thrawn's Star Destroyer's parking brake, you know, like, you know, none of that. Again, not to say that's explicitly a bad thing, but you have all these fans who have never played Knights of the Old Republic, who never read the New Jedi Order, who never read the Darth Bane trilogy, who know the things that happen. So they are then empowered to imagine how they happened. They know they happened, they don't know how. So they have the ability to go, the prompt is a force-resistant extragalactic threat invades the galaxy and nearly destroys it, and the Jedi have to fight them back. You can create a version of how that happens in your mind that's fucking awesome. With scant details. You know what happened, you know the major events, but you didn't read it. You don't know what it's about. You don't know the themes. You don't know what the story's trying to tell you. But you know what happened. And now that you're older, I'm going to stay on the Star Wars example here for a minute. Now that you're older and these new movies are coming out and you know so much about Star Wars legends, then when these new movies come out, you have this weird moment where you go, this isn't how it used to feel. feels different. And you don't know what to do with that. And then you start reading more about Legends. It's like, oh, this sounds so much better than what we have now. And the people who go, oh, this sounds so much better, are easy marks for the people who go, the reason why it doesn't feel like it used to is because the person with a lightsaber is a girl, because this character is this character is that. Oh, it's woke, it's feminism, it's whatever. So then you have a cohort of the low information fan. You basically, at this point, you have like two groups of low information fans who don't like the new stuff, that kind of just blindly but honestly go, it doesn't feel the way it did when I was little. It doesn't feel the way I thought it should, and I don't like it because of that. And then the other people who can't find a reason, who can't find a reason they dislike it, but for whatever reason, there's plenty, are very easily seduced with disinformation about those stories that they think they know so much about, and are easily convinced of it's bad because it's quote unquote political now, or all the other fandom menace talking points. All of that to say, I think the Harry Potter show is going to have this problem. I think there are going to be a lot of low information Harry Potter fans who watched the movies all the time as a kid. Maybe they read the books when they were little. But all of the extra ancillary material, Super Carlin Brothers and how many other YouTubers who focus on Harry Potter could just tell them everything that they don't know. And those fans go into this new show and go, oh, this doesn't feel like it did. It doesn't feel like it did when I read it as a kid. It doesn't feel like it did when I saw these movies for the first time, or when I rewatched them around the holidays on Freeform or whatever. And then those low information fans will find the now infinitely more powerful, with more clout, fandom menace people to then start doing the same thing. Well, the reason you don't like it is because Hermione is of color. The reason you don't like it is because Snape is a black man. Which, pause for a moment. Who the fuck let that happen?
Do we want to have that discussion?
No.
Because we know why it happened.
Why do you think it happened?
Oh, okay. So for Hermione specifically,
Hermione, that was J.K. Rowling's like weird retconning and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Hermione. Hermione, fine. The character whose whole arc is trying to be like a...
Oh, I lost you for a minute. I can't hear you. You rant?
Yeah, so my Zoom opened randomly and decided it wanted my microphone more than StreamYard did. No, what I was saying was I don't mind the Hermione reek. I don't mind. Obviously, I don't mind because I'm not a fucking weirdo. I don't mind being cast as a person of color. I know it's in line with J.K. Rowling's like retcon that she always envisioned Hermione as a black kid. Whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody did disappearo shitto at Hogwarts when they didn't have toilets. Fine. My issue is the character whose whole story and arc is being a rehabilitated magical neo-Nazi. And the way that the Death Eaters and Voldemort's whole cult of personality is built on the back of magical racial purity, and casting a black man in that role. I think the optics of that are fucking bananas.
I will.
People, give me 1 second. People always bring up the whole this character can be played by a black guy and this person can be played by a Latino person. But you wouldn't let Black Panther be played by a white guy. There are characters in fiction who are white, who should probably stay white for good reason. I think Steve Rogers thematically works better as a white man because his whole story is being this bundled up, like basically being what would happen if American exceptionalism was a person but had a fucking conscience.
And like on the Captain America, like Steve, you can't reasonably tell the story of Steve Rogers in 1940 getting a super soldier shot and then being treated like an actual American hero if he's black. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And have it be faithful to any, like, obviously, like, comic books aren't going to be, I shouldn't say that. Comic books are wonderful and they are very powerful pieces of art that tell very, like, real political things for left-leaning movements. But, like, you can't, Isaiah Bradley exists now in the MCU for a reason. You know,
underutilized as he may be, he's still there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the. You could even say that's the point.
Maybe, but like someone like Severus Snape, in my opinion, and I'm willing to say that I may not have the correct opinion, or that my opinion may not be as informed as somebody else's, but Severus Snape is a character. I think you get into really weird, murky territory with the story you're trying to tell if that character is black. When the whole point of the Death Eaters as a movement and like what Snape is meant to represent is this movement of racial purity.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody who is so ingrained in that movement, to cast a person of color, that is a buck wild decision that I think is kind of inappropriate. And I can admit that I can say that if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll hold that L. But I don't think I am.
I don't think you're wrong. I think the reason I don't think it's happening. So two things. One, I see because I see where you're coming from. I see these low information fans are gonna find the now already practiced grifters on this new thing, targeting a small. Also, for these children's lives are ruined. In every direction.
Let me say that right fucking now too.
Yeah, these poor children.
These kids do not the two guys you're listening to talk right now. Like, these are two people who hate that this show exists. Anybody who with allyship and a resentment of J.K. Rowling's hatred in their heart, do not come sideways at these fucking kids. Do not come sideways at these fucking kids. They're already going to have to deal with it enough from people who are just as big in it as Joanne. These kids do not deserve your fucking smoke.
Yeah, they cannot make the informed decision if you're a young British kid, imagine being a 12-year-old British kid and being told you're going to get to be in fucking Doctor Who.
Yes!
Right? Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw what's happening recently, but like, what the fuck is going on with Doctor Who? But anyway.
I have no fucking clue. I actually told Taylor right before I saw the news about that regeneration, I was like, I got some time on my hands. I think I'm going to get back into Doctor Who. And I saw that, and I'm like, I'm still going to get back into Doctor Who, but I'm so confused.
I didn't see news about it. I saw the clip.
Same.
And like out loud went, what in the hell? Yeah. I've seen my TikTok has been a tale of two Doctor Who's. It's just been, this is the worst decision ever made in any media franchise ever. And oh my God, I'm so happy. This is so cool. And like, I have no way to make an opinion on it, and I don't care that much.
Yeah. Like I said, I have questions, but I'm willing to let them cook.
Yeah. Anyway, these kids' lives are ruined. The step further they are going to find those grifters. They're going to find J.K. Rowling. Right? That's truthfully, that's the biggest issue. Harry Potter has had what I would describe as maybe the worst ability to understand its own ideas and themes. As someone who wanted a Dark Mark tattoo and is willing to say that into a camera, like, I was 17 once and just thought like I really liked Harry Potter and thought the Mark was cool and was not nearly as media literate as I am now. Part of the reason is that Harry Potter is not literate in its own themes. Like as a person who did not pick up that Cho Chang and Kingsley Shacklebolt because of the way I am and where I come from, like I'm willing to admit I was an ignorant 15-year-old.
Yeah. Cho Chang is more egregious. I can see some people hearing the name Kingsley Shacklebolt and go, that name sounds hard as fuck.
Yeah.
And then it's like an African guy, and you're like, that's fucking disgusting. You know?
Yeah.
There's a reason why if J.K. Rowling named a character of this lineage joke, you know, like
yeah, and that's my point.
Cho Chang's unfucking forgivable.
Yeah,
Kingsley Shacklebolt is also unforgivable, but it's cool enough that if a white guy had that name, it would still be cool as shit.
Yeah, and so like Harry Potter fans were always unique. I shouldn't say that blanketly, but like uniquely have kind of ignored a lot of the deeper themes and like the fact that Snape is a reformed neo-Nazi and the fact that it is we were all so desensitized to the fact that they were just using slurs.
Yeah.
Right? And like these things were supposed to be treated with that reverence, but then they just didn't, and then we didn't get it because it was for kids. And Joanne hadn't been exposed to black mold yet, but also hadn't like really doubled in on what she was doing.
Well, I mean, there's also room for the conversations about how problematic that story is to begin with.
Right. Yeah. And
the stuff that's aged like milk. And again, if J.K. Rowling didn't end up being this like hateful fucking lunatic, like I would even be able to give the grace of like, you didn't really, people change with the times and the times they are a changing. And when you know better, you do better. Like in an alternate timeline where J.K. Rowling doesn't become a lunatic, I think we could collectively give her the same grace that most people give George fucking Lucas.
Yeah.
That like, I have less opinions about the Jar Jar of it all because I just watched the Light and Magic season 2 and how like a lot of the critiques of like the racial elements of Jar Jar, Ahmed Best personally was like, no. I made a lot of these decisions. Which like, again, there's room for a lot of conversation. There's room for people to also still be offended by that. But like, I don't feel comfortable going, I still think, even though I love Jar Jar, I still think it's problematic. I don't have that. But like shit like Watto, shit like the Neimoidians, mostly in my third favorite fucking Star Wars movie, that like having all these white people do these like weird Japanese accents and, all the weird iconography with Watto being, like the hook-nosed slave owning, money grubby, whatever, like, we've given George the grace of he probably wouldn't do it like that in 2025.
Right.
J.K. Rowling burned so much goodwill that I don't think anybody's willing to have those conversations. We can have conversations about, again, like there are some things that age like milk. But, I think you can only take that as far as you can. George Lucas being such like an anti-authoritarian guy, who had the balls to say that the bad guys in my movie during the Cold War are based on the American Empire and that the goddamn teddy bears are the Viet fucking Cong. Like, I think enough people are able to go, oh, you're based just old and white and give him a little bit of fucking grace.
Right.
J.K. Rowling burned all of that years ago.
Yeah. And the reason it's funny that she did kind of burn it in an attempt to be inclusive. Like because she had that weird of like, oh, Hermione could have been black, which like, sure, you can say that, and Dumbledore was gay and they shit themselves all the time. Like, she had this string of like, no, I'm too smart to have had plot holes.
I'm too smart to have had plot holes. I'm too smart to have been problematic. And even with her revisionist history shit.
I'm too smart to have been problematic is like the perfect in quotes. Yeah.
But like even with like the revisionist history stuff, like and like, this is kind of like a side thing to like my greater point here, and I'm glad you brought it up, is like even then she falls into weird problematic tropes.
Yes.
Like everything going on with Hermione in the books, it gets a lot weirder when she's black now. That big moment when Draco Malfoy calls her a mudblood, that takes on a whole new context that if that was not your original intent from the jump, then you need to recognize that you're playing with fire, man. And, shit like Dumbledore. Okay, Dumbledore's gay. Cool. Why has it got to be this weird problematic trope of like toxic queer relationships and how they're like incredibly self-destructive and inherently abusive because Dumbledore had a weird Nazi phase of fucking Grindelwald? Like, ugh, shit like that. But you take the low information fans, right? And now they're like, I don't like it because it's not what I know. And then, I don't like it because Snape is black and whatever. And then you get this next fucking level of people who align with J.K. Rowling politically, who are going to hate the show from jump, who are, leading the charge with this stuff. Geeks and Gamers already has this has a litany of heinous fucking videos. I think it's him that are immediately attacking the cast because of wokeness. And I'm sorry, you don't get to be these prequel fucking apologists. As someone who loves the goddamn prequels, as someone who will die in the name of the Phantom fucking Menace, you do not get to do this shit after Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best and call those movies masterpieces. Suck my dick backwards. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so you have that, and then you'll have the bigots who probably would have hated the show because of woke, who were going to watch it and support it because it's being made as a cash grab for this transphobic lunatic.
Yeah, that is the other thing too, is now they're going to have a weapon of, no, I'm not a bigot. I watched a show with 2 black people in it. And they were main cast.
Yeah, and hey, did you see, like, and we're going to put a scene in where Dumbledore kisses a guy. I can't hate queer people because Dumbledore's gay still.
Yeah.
Like it's and what I'm getting at with like the singularity thing is that like the audience is almost primed to be with this show what it took Star Wars to get where it was with the Acolyte. Where it was, again, like the Acolyte is one of the prime examples of low information fans going buck wild. The amount of TikToks, and granted, that sentence in and of itself is its own bag of cats. The amount of like TikToks and posts I've seen online in general of people going, Disney broke canon with the Acolyte because the prophecy of the Chosen One, like explaining how like, Osha and May ruined the Chosen One prophecy and how it doesn't make any sense that Osha could bleed the lightsaber crystal, but Anakin didn't while he was slaughtering children. That doesn't make any sense. This show broke canon. Disney Star Wars sucks. So all of those low information fans who don't know anything about the things they were bitching about, the Chosen One prophecy does not exist in Legends. Like it exists, like there's a Chosen One prophecy. Obviously it's in the movies, but like we don't know what it is. In canon, we do. In Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, it in detail explains what the Chosen One prophecy reads. That a child born of no father, conceived by the Force, will appear at a certain point in time and bring balance to the Force. At no point in the events of the Acolyte is that contradicted. But anything to do with a Force-based conception has to be associated with our special, with our special kind of fashy white boy. And oh, well, the crystal. Well, there's some things there. Anakin never directly meditated with the crystal. Osha was making direct skin to crystal contact with it. She was opening herself up to the Force for the first time, really, in years. And all of those emotions kind of poured out into the crystal that she was making direct contact with, and she kind of unconsciously did it. There's also the boring real world explanation of we haven't invented this concept yet. You
Yep.
know, like there's all these things, but we don't pay attention to them because it doesn't meld with the narrative. And that's what I'm getting at with this singularity, where we're going to have people who are going, "Oh, this broke the lore, this broke the canon," and they're all throwing shit at the wall because they're too cowardly to say Hermione and Snape are black. It's bad. We'll have people who are just blindly dislike the show because it doesn't feel exactly like the movies. There will be people who like the show, and that's all well and good, but then those people who do like the show are going to be getting shouted at online, justifiably or not, kind of justifiably in my opinion, for supporting this shit. And then there's going to be people like you and me and the people we run with who are going to be begging people to stop watching this fucking show. Go to Goodwill and buy the fucking box set if you really want Harry Potter that badly. Stop supporting this monster. Like, do you see what I mean with like the fandom singularity here? Where like everything is gonna happen at once. I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, I literally what you just said. Yeah, like it is like on every axis, the worst version of it will happen. It's like accelerationist theory, man. We're watching things. It's like you said, we're watching what happened with Star Wars. We watched it happen kind of pretty rapidly with the MCU. In general, like the same kind of thing with like, as an example, we watched the MCU happen. We watched a bunch of studios try to redo the MCU. Whether it's goddamn Snyder's movies or the MonsterVerse.
The Dark Universe.
Right? Like all these things kicked up and not immediately petered out. They existed for upwards of maybe a decade. And when I say existed, I mean something was in production somewhere that technically meant it was alive.
Yes.
Right? And now we're watching these things again where we're having these projects, and like you see it, the multiverses, the DC, the Warner Brothers fighter just shut down. Any of these films and ideas that are the revival of the Snyderverse, where like it died and then they were like, no, we're bringing it back because we have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson producing, and that's a decent chunk of change. And then, oh wait, it sucks.
Oh wait, it sucks.
Yeah, so we're just gonna let that die. And like that's happening faster and faster and faster, right? And so there is a unfortunate large part of me that is hoping, and we just talked about how we don't want people to be out of work, for even like for the sake of these kids, and I don't know, like if you're an adult actor signing onto this project, that's entirely different. You made an informed decision. I hope the show falls through.
I mean, what I am worried, not necessarily worried about, but like intrigued to see how it plays out, is that Warner Brothers have said that they are investing in this show for this to be a 10-season series. And that they're investing in this gigantic set for Hogwarts, that the intention is to let these kids grow on screen into, the chosen one, Harry Potter, blah, 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 and for it to all kind of crescendo into what we know it to be. And I'm curious to see what happens. If the show is successful and it has a 10-season run and adapts all of the books and takes all the time it wants to adapt all of them the way they want to, I will be stunned. if it makes it all the way, if they don't have to pull an Andor and truncate seasons. What I'm curious about is what happens if it gets canceled. Like season or two come out and the show gets the plug pulled on it. Who claims victory and who claims victim? Because there's room for J.K. Rowling to go, my show was destroyed by the transgender mob. You know, the woke transgender ideology murdered my show and destroyed these children's lives. Or will it be an acolyte situation? Where you're just going to have all of these huckster, carny pieces of shit, you know, jerking each other off, going, oh, congratulations, guys, we killed another woke. The Harry Potter reboot went the way of the acolyte. You know, that is something that I'm curious to see how it plays out. Because again, I'm in the same position you are. I don't want to root against this show because of the people whose work is on the line. At this point, like the damage is done that these kids have been cast. There's a part of me that's afraid for what this does for them if they want to be actors for the rest of their life, to have the biggest thing on their resume, the first biggest thing on their resume is you were in this gajillion dollar fucking flop. You know, like there's just so much room for fallout here.
Yeah, for me, when I say I want it to fail, like I want it to burn up in production tomorrow. I don't want it to hit screens, right? Because the realistic scenario was what you just described, where it's going to maybe make it 2 seasons. We all know, especially with Warner Brothers, but in general, when a studio comes out and says we have a plan that spans out longer than maybe 18 months, it's cooked. Like it's not happening. It's not a matter of if or can they pull it off or what's the act like. With Marvel gets the grace now of what's the timeline actually going to look like, right? We had it was that way with Endgame and Infinity War. That like it was Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 for a couple of years, right?
Yep.
And so and there's an argument to be made that was off the back of Harry Potter Part 1 and Part 2 being so successful, which I don't want to admit. But Marvel gets the grace now because they're too big to fail and have proven that they will persevere through bullshit. Where it's like, well, what happens when? Okay, so our timeline got scuffed because an actor had to go. What do we do? Okay, we can pivot. We have plans. RDJ will come back and play our gotcha villain. Whatever. These other projects think they can do the same thing and they can't because they don't have the buying power that Marvel has, obviously. Like, say what you want about the MCU and recent projects or whatever else, they've earned that.
Yeah.
So that it's not a matter of if this show fails, it's when this show fails, and most likely it'll be after 2 seasons. Unless and this is also all kind of on Rowling as well. Because as Joanne gets more and more unhinged and more legitimately active with her money, which we're seeing now. I mean, we've been seeing it, but I think she knows that the grift is where the money is. Or the black mold's really getting to her.
Like I said, the cast being more diverse than I anticipated, shocks me that she did not go full grift. Not that there's anything redeemable there, but again, Black Snape.
Yeah, and for me,
that is an insane choice considering everything else.
That's emblematic of her, it's not just being a grift, but her actually being fully insane.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the variance of not just, well, I'm going to lead into the right-wing propaganda and make my bag and go home. Right? It's the narcissism of, no, I was right the whole time. I'm actually an unproblematic princess because I'm defending women or whatever. And it's her proving herself right by making a thing that that is going to be successful based on things she's said.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, I will, be interested and unfortunately very saddened by whatever happens to watch this show crumble when it crumbles. I genuinely am shocked they're not having more issues. I shouldn't say that, but because it's not that shocking, but not just in terms of actors, but production staff.
Yeah.
That how many people are doing this job for this show from I don't know how far they obviously aren't far on production yet. And obviously the corporate side of it doesn't matter. And these actors have clearly made, not the kids, but everyone else has made their choice. But how many people on the production aspect that are needed to make the show happen are not going to work on this show because of everything that it entails?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, like I said, I am curious to see how this shakes out. I think that this is going to I think this is going to somehow be worse than the Acolyte
mm-hmm.
in
the
terms
only
of what it's going to do to discourse and how
the only saving grace, truly, is that Harry Potter is not as wide reaching as Star Wars. It's close, and I'm not going to pretend like it's not. I think we're so far down the pipeline of the Harry Potter kind of erasure that we've been cascading down, right? The dam broke on. Well, actually, her writing was kind of dog shit all along, and I love it so much. I love it. I love hearing. I
have
know
mixed opinions about that. Where I don't like the revision. Revisionist history is revisionist history,
right?
And that is and the part of my brain that is so invested in disinformation is a cancer on society. Gets frustrated with that. I think it's possible. And granted, I say that, Travis, what's one of my favorite ways to describe myself? Recovering Kanye stan, where I can sit here and say that Graduation, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, and Life of Pablo are in my opinion, some of the greatest albums, fuck a rap albums of all time. And I think he is a repulsive, disgusting, disingenuous, attention-seeking fucking hate monger. And I can't revisit his music. I can't just go, separate the art from the artist and listen to his old stuff before he was singing about how much he likes Mustache Man. I'll use algo speak because I'm already so in the fucking weeds right now. I won't listen to the old stuff back before he was awful. I can't do that. I'll have my hands full and perfect example, Devil in a New Dress, which in my opinion is one of the greatest songs ever made. It is on my favorite Kanye album. And he's barely on it, which is hilarious. It's mostly a Rick Ross song, but Kanye built that sample and that instrumental from the ground up, and it sounds heavenly. It is one of the most beautiful sounding pieces of music I've ever heard in my entire life and ever will hear in my entire life. That song came on its own on a playlist while I was washing dishes. My hands were wet, and I was like, I'll let it go. And I got to the part where the song just crescendos and explodes into this just sonic feast. And I had this moment where I went, man, he's the greatest producer to ever live. And then immediately, all I see is him in a balaclava on the Alex Jones show. All I see are the tweets. And I'm like, oh. And all of that joy that I had for a nanosecond flew out of the window, and I was full of the dread and grief of this artist I love being a fucking monster. I think it is possible to have an honest conversation and talk about Harry Potter being good. I think you can do that. But you then have to recognize that supporting it now
is bad.
Objectively bad.
Yes. I think it is for me, I think on a personal level, I went as Harry Potter for Halloween 3 years in a row as a kid. Like, and part of my love for the movies was that I looked a bit like him.
Yeah.
Can't deny that. Right? That part of me as an adult with, again, much better media literacy and like appreciation for storytelling now, looking back on those books and understanding stands her monstrosity of personality that she is. Oh, hey, the society that openly uses slurs against people, both non-magic people and magic people, the resolution of Mustache Man coming back to life and wreaking havoc on a high school. Not touching that, but the the resolution of, hey, the routines and dogmas that are ingrained in our world are deeply wrong and harmful and shouldn't be that way, is for the main character, the main inspiration to change those things, not changing them and becoming a cop. Right? And so it's like, oh, I can look at that and go, oh, wait, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how that story should end. Or at least to me, that's not how that story should end. I'm sure for some people that was a perfect ending, and it still is. And those people don't listen to this show. That's for sure. You know, it gives me, knowing now how I feel about those things and how those feelings of.
I don't know why that got me so good. Those people don't listen to this show.
You're like, oh, he turns into a cop at the end. That's cool. No, you're not here. That's not you, bud.
Yeah. I mean, there's again the part of my brain that wants to go. You know, there's a part of my brain that like activates a instinctive want to fight that take, just because I also hate when people call Jedi cops.
Right. Yeah.
But continue, because I always interpreted the Aurors as like Rowling's answer to the Jedi. But you're right. That's just the part of my brain that is defensive of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, it's the thing of like, from what we've seen and how the story is set up to be ending, that nothing actually changes systemically within the system. And nothing was ever wrong in the first place. It was just this one person. And that's not how evil works. That's not how systemic problems work. And again, Harry Potter is not literate in its own themes and ideas. And so, like, that's why I like when the dam was broken, because it was, for me, a moment of realizing how much more literate I had become.
Yeah.
And also I got to dog on a transphobe, so like, fun.
No, for sure, and like that, and like this is like low key becoming like our like a little like group therapy about being heartbroken and disappointed by Harry Potter as an institution.
Yeah, I mean, it is quickly becoming the Chick-fil-A of properties, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say quickly. I think it's kind of past Chick-fil-A at this point. But
I mean, listen, if somebody else is going to taint their hands by ordering Chick-fil-A, you know, I'm like, yeah, you already decided you were going to go. I'll have a chicken sandwich and I'll feel bad about it. And then I'll like immediately go donate to GLAAD because I feel guilty. By the time I'm not even done with my sandwich and I donate to GLAAD. This it's said like by a queer person myself, I'm like, oh, I got to donate to GLAAD. This is fucked up.
I have the Trevor Project on speed dial just in case, you know?
Yeah. With Rowling, you know, and like, you know, not that we're litigating this part, you know, but I think the other issue that is just so endemic of this whole situation is that we need to understand, like, I think there was a time where you could separate the art from the artist. And I think that there are instances where that is capable. You know, I think that's a mileage may vary thing. You know, in the case of living monsters, it's really difficult. Again, there are some people who can watch these movies, like the Chick-fil-A example. there was one time, I hate fucking Harry Potter. My whole family was on a fucking like family trip not too long ago. We were at the hotel, kind of like, recharging a little bit before we went to the next thing. There was nothing on TV, and we went into the room that my mom, dad, and my little sister were in, and they had Chamber of Secrets on E in the background. I'm not judging for that. To me, that is the same as like the Chick-fil-A sandwich that somebody already ordered. But actively putting money in J.K. Rowling's pocket after she has explicitly said on the record, every dime I make is an affirmation that what I believe is correct, I can't. I was already having a hard enough time having fun with Harry Potter before that. When it was still, people doing with J.K. Rowling what people did with Kanye at first. I remember after there's a lot of things that I love about Hitler went viral buku crazy nuts on Twitter, that everybody was like, did you guys know that Kendrick Lamar made My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy? Did you know that JPEG Mafia made Yeezus?
Yeah.
Did you know, like, in the same way where it was like, did you know Daniel Radcliffe wrote Harry Potter? Did you know that Harry Potter just kind of fell out of the sky one day? And there was a point in time where, like, I understand that feeling acceptable. That line has been crossed so fundamentally at this point that it is untouchable to me. And I wish it was to more people, but yeah. The Fandom Culture War Singularity, folks. It's about to get real bad.
Between that and Trans Zelda, we're careening off a cliff.
I as somebody who has like zero skin in the game for Legend of Zelda, first of all, Hunter Schafer, fucking breathtaking.
It's a perfect casting. Look,
yeah, she look like it's one of those like it's almost like, how do I put this? How do I put this without the casting sounding dismissive? It's one of those like just.
You would fan cast it because it's the fan casting of Keanu Reeves to Revan because you like.
Thank you. I didn't want to have to say it. I was trying to think of another one, but I couldn't stop thinking of Keanu as Darth Vader because it's the one.
No. I get it. That's why, like, when I first started seeing it, I didn't think it was real because I was like, oh, there's someone fan cast this, and everyone's upset. That's like,
Krasinski is Reed Richards,
right? Like, oh, someone made a push for a trans actress as Zelda, and everyone got real fucking mad because that means they can, do unspeakable things to the thought of Zelda. But like a cross-dressing woman. But let's sit with that for a minute. And so, I genuinely at first I was like, oh, this isn't a real story. People are just like, I didn't see people, obviously, I never see people getting mad about these things for stuff like anything like any hate culture stuff. I never see the people actually complaining. I just see the people responding to it, which has had an unfortunate side effect in my brain of me going, is any of this even real? Did we make up Nazis?
That's its own bag of cats about how we engage with it, which is like an ongoing conversation in and of itself that I have waffled on my,
It is one of the reasons why I largely, I don't stay off of them, obviously. I'm not that healthy, but I've stopped engaging a lot on social media just in general. I think I might have told this story on the podcast. I remember scrolling and Philip DeFranco, God bless him, made a tweet. I forget what it was. It's post-election. I know it was it was maybe January, maybe February. He made a tweet asking about something Trump did, of just getting the temperature on something, because he's now very out and left, and not left, but outwardly against Donald Trump, which we love to see.
Phil's a nice little liberal.
Yeah. And look, man, I'll take what I can get.
I'll take what I can get.
If I could have one person from my life,
God save America, I'm not clutching my pearls.
So
that show is sometimes unfucking listenable.
I remember reading the replies to it, and after about 7 or 8, I realized every single one I had read was a bot. And I kind of shut I might have shut my phone off completely, but I shut every app off on my phone. I put my phone down. I didn't touch it for like 20 minutes. I was like, I can't. Ooh, that did something to me. That didn't feel good. Like, and it keeps happening. Where like I'll see someone make a legitimate comment or have an idea on the internet, and I don't want to be dismissive of people doing that. And then they start to engage with things that are clearly, if not actual bots, ideas perpetuated from them that are there just to drive engagement. And not just on Twitter, but mostly on Twitter. Where it's like, oh man, I think we lost.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I think it's over.
Itself in a way that is just fucking horrific.
I think I can't talk to anyone if it's not verbally anymore. You know, that's kind of where I'm at.
Wonderful.
Anyway, save the dolls.
Save the dolls. Happy Pride, save the dolls.
My name, my name for the thing tonight. I thought about it. I was gonna put "they're gay now." They're gay now. Like, did they fly now? Except I didn't want it to look like I was coming out. It's like it is June 3rd, right? Like, oh, that's not in good taste.
I'd be pissed if you stole my thunder as being the next person on the Nerd Academy podcast who came out at the beginning of Pride Month. How dare you? But yeah, guys, this is gonna get ugly, but that's what we're here for. Who knows if we talk about it at all, even the discourse, but time will tell. But you guys got a supersized episode of Travis coming back. I think that's all we have for you today. Travis, where can the lovely people find you, brother?
They can find me running around on the streets of Pittsburgh like a goblin in 20 minutes.
So afraid as to why.
It's dark out. Things get fun.
Because it's dark out. Okay. I thought I was holding you from something, and I was like, oh no, I didn't realize how late. Okay.
No. I'm just making a joke.
Okay.
Jarod?
Yes.
Where?
Sensational. That's his word.
You guys can find me over on Blue Sky and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on all social media, as well as our website, thenerdacademypodcast.com. You can listen to the show on Spotify, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can also watch the show over on the Nerd Academy podcast YouTube channel. Versus series is coming back soon. We got, now that Spencer's house is situated, we got lots for you guys to enjoy when he comes back from his little trip. So stay tuned for that. Like I said earlier, Ionized Bastards is coming to an end here in the next few weeks. I am very sad and bittersweet about it. So tune in for that. Like I said, we should be recording the next episode tomorrow when we're recording this. Pro and Noob is about to come back in a big way. We are doing our first current anime where we're in the process of getting caught up. Travis, I watched the first episode of Dan to Dan the other day.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say Dan to Dan. Dude, I haven't watched all the season 1. I've seen the first like 5 or 6 episodes. It is very good. Oh, you know what? Speaking of the wizards at a school, recommendation for you, because I think you'll really enjoy the comedy of it, and a recommendation from our good friend Levi. Mashal, Magic and Muscles.
I think he tried to pitch me on that on my birthday, actually. I actually think he brought that up.
I watched season 1. Dude, funniest thing I've watched in a long time.
Like I said, yeah, I got to go through Mitch with these requests at this point because I'm not allowed to just go rogue and watch anything anymore. But I will keep that in mind. But yeah, so Pro and Noob, we're tackling Dan to Dan. We had a fucking wild episode about it. It was a long one for Pro and Noob, especially because I had a lot of thoughts about how the episode ended. That turned into a very protracted, good. It was a good conversation. It was a long conversation. So if you want your fill of more of me yapping, tune in the Mitch 692 channel. That stay tuned to the Nerd Academy podcast. Travis, welcome back. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And class dismissed for real this time.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!